Alright, so we're going to start out by showing you how to change strings on a Floyd Rose setup. We're going to do a Floyd Rose and a Strat with like a regular fixed bridge. But we're going to start with the Floyd Rose first. So we're going to start by showing you how to change the strings and take care of the fretboard too. So we're going to first zoom in and I'll show you the stuff I like to use as far as the tools on the Ibanez or the Floyd Rose setup. So I got my tuner, strings, clippers, we've got our Allen wrench and string cleaner and some guitar honey, which is good for keeping the fretboard kind of lubricated, if you will. And got some guitar polish too. So let's take a look and start out over here. So what we're going to do is do one string at a time. Now Floyd Rose guitars can be really cool because they'll stay in tune and you can do a lot of cool stuff with them, but you do got to learn how to set them up and take care of them well, otherwise they'll give you a lot of headaches. So what we're going to do is do one string at a time. Now on fixed bridge guitars, usually you're going to want to take all your strings off at the same time. But with these, because the tension is what keeps the bridge right here floating, so if you take one string off, it's going to affect how the whole guitar stays in tune. So when you change the strings on these type of guitars, it's usually easier if you just do one string at a time, tune it up, and then just keep working that way. So what I'm going to do first is put some guitar honey, which is pretty much just like lemon oil, on the fretboard. Now this fretboard, if you can see, has a rosewood fretboard, and rosewood is a lot more porous, so it's good to keep it from getting dry. If you have a maple fretboard, those don't really dry out too much, so you don't have to worry about it. But with rosewood, once in a while, I would say maybe once every 3-4 months, it's good to give a hit of lemon oil or guitar honey on here to keep it from drying out too much. And again, usually it's better if you do this with the strings off, but because we're going to change these strings anyways, it's not going to be a bad idea to do this. So I like to have like an old shirt or a cloth to use to wipe down stuff. So once we get that on there, you're just going to want to rub it in and make sure there's no wet spots hanging around and get a nice kind of darker wood look to it. And again, we'll be cutting these strings off and changing them, so I'm not too worried about them getting dirty. And what I usually tell people is, I mean, it definitely depends on how much you play as far as when to change your strings, but if you take care of them with string cleaner and wipe them down after you use them, they'll feel like they're brand new forever, but they will start getting dull over time and not holding tune as well. So depending on how much you play, it's good to change them when they start feeling grimy or when they don't hold tune that well. So what we're going to start off by doing is unlocking the nut. So on these type of guitars, they have what's called double locking system. So that means they lock up here at the neck. So these bolts push down on the strings and lock them so they keep them from slipping. Then they also lock back here in the bridge. So what you do is screw in this back bolt and it slams a little cube and keeps this part of the string from slipping out as well. So what we need to do first though, since we're going to do one string at a time, is unlock the bolt at the E and A string. So these bolts here, if you can see, each one locks down 2 strings. So we're going to start with the big E string. So you're going to want your Allen wrench and just loosen that up. All right, and take that right off. So now these two strings are loose to take off now. So what we're going to start off with is our peg winder, and just with the big E string, we're going to loosen this up and take it off. So, and if you watch the bridge, it'll start raising and moving with the tension. So don't worry about that though. We're just going to loosen this up enough so that we could take it off. All right. Okay, so now that we got that loose, let's get a good angle for you here. Okay, we're going to be working back here now on the bridge. So, now that the top's loose, what we need to do is take this part, open and release the string from the bridge here. You want to keep your whammy bar in when you work on these because you're going to need to consistently kind of bring it up and down to get the right, to get at the screw in the back here. So these bolts right here are what push in the little blocks. On some Floyd Rose, the screw is in front of this back plate, but on this older style, it's in the back. So what you want to do is push down on the whammy bar to raise the bridge so you can get at this without damaging the guitar. And then just loosen it up, and after a good turn, it should kind of just swivel out. Now it's good when you work on these to get keep a flathead screwdriver around, because sometimes with these blocks, you need to just kind of push in and get it back a little bit. So once you kind of jolt it back, the string should just kind of come right out like that. All right. So now what we'll do is open up our strings. I prefer to use 9s, size 9 strings. Most Floyd Rose guitars are pretty much set up to use 9s because they're a little bit thinner and they just work better with the tension. If you change strings and you change the size of your strings, you're going to have to reset the height of the bridge with the screws in the back of the guitar. But this one's all set up, and usually if you buy a guitar, it's already set up that way. So now what I'm going to do, on these guitars, here's the end of the string. On these type of guitars, you have to clip the ball end. Almost every string you buy is going to have the balls at the end of the string. But for Floyd Rose guitars, you don't need these. So you're going to take your wire cutters and snip that end off. Okay? Cool. So now that we got our big E string, we're going to put it right in the slot there. Now you want to make sure it's in the center and push it down until you can feel that it stops. All right? You want it all the way down. Now at the same time, if you could see, I got my pinky on, like, the rest of my hand is on the bar here, because I need to push down to be able to get at that screw. So as I make sure this is in there in the bottom, I'm going to push down and then tighten this back up. You can kind of first do it with your fingers, and then when you start feeling the tension, you can get your Allen wrench, get in there, and just tighten it down. All right, now you don't need to go extremely tight on these, but you do want to push it in and make sure that it's going to keep it from slipping. So get it pretty tight and then just leave it right there. Okay, so now your string's nice and loose, and now we're going to string this up. Now, there's a technique that I like to do to tie the string on the peg. Let's zoom in here. Okay.